Hello and welcome back to another edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast. And someone's got a birthday. I wonder who. Of course, welcome on in. My name is Derek Montia, occasionally known as the mayor of PHNX. This guy next to me is the birthday boy, occasionally known as my vice mayor, the one and only Thunderstick Jesse, birthday boy Friedman.
Derek, I feel like since it's my birthday, I should have the cooler party hat. But apparently this party hat that I found in like some obscure cabinet that I haven't looked in years, I don't know if it matches up with what you got going on over there.
I came legit for your birthday. Here you go, buddy. This is for you. I'm making a mess of my making a mess of my office. But of course, this show is brought to you by the fine folks at the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. We thank you guys for joining us, and of course, everybody wish Jesse a very wonderful, happy birthday. Of course, the MLB gave you quite the present, right? They had a pretty fun day for the first day of postseason NLDS and ALDS play. It was quite a few exciting games with our guys, the Mariners, probably being on the receiving end of the worst part of the day.
Yeah, I had a tweet queued up from our PHNX D-backs account, about the Mariners being undefeated in the postseason and all this stuff. And then Robbie Ray came in to pitch, and things didn't go so great for Robbie Ray last night. This is one of the more painful spying on our exes moments that we could possibly have on the show. Robbie Ray did not make Diamondbacks fans proud in that game yesterday. Granted, Yordan Alvarez is a very, very good hitter, but that was a rough moment.
He's a beast. Yordan Alvarez's walk-off home run is the first postseason, first in postseason history with a team trailing by multiple runs ever. The fourth time ever done. The other three times that it was done, the team was trailing by one run. This is the first time we've ever had a walk-off of this magnitude in the postseason. So it was a historic moment. And honestly, the Mariners looked like they were cruising through most of that game. So it was definitely a meltdown by the bullpen that the Arizona Diamondbacks fans can very much relate to, right? Justin Verlander was not very good for the Astros yesterday. And unfortunately, neither was the bullpen for the Mariners.
No, it really wasn't. And I have a good friend who's a extreme Mariners fan, a diehard Mariners fan, and I was sort of picking his brain about what he might have wanted to see Scott Service do in the ninth inning. He basically said like not that, but didn't necessarily have like a clear cut alternative. The Mariners bullpen is sort of taken some twists and turns throughout the year. Paul Sewald has really good numbers. That guy that was pitching in the ninth inning before Robbie Ray entered the game had a really good season. I think like a 2.67 ERA, something like that. A bunch of strikeouts, very few walks, opponent batting average of like $150. But Paul Sewald has given up a lot of home runs. He's given up 10 home runs this year in about 60 innings, which is a pretty high rate. But granted, who also has given up a lot of home runs this year is Robbie Ray, which has sort of always been a thing for him. Even in the best years that Robbie Ray has had, he is a little bit home run prone. And we often see that, for power arms, guys who throw a lot of fastballs, aren't afraid to throw their fastball up in the zone, which is a big pitch for Robbie. Sometimes it's going to get hit. And this wasn't a fastball up in the zone. It was down in the zone, but it seemed like Yordan Alvarez, that was the exact pitch that he was looking for. And he surely did not miss it. That was an absolute missile, and an absolute no doubt home run for sure.
It was two fastballs, and both of them were relatively down the middle of the plate. I think that the idea here is that Robbie Ray, who has been struggling as of late, coming in out of the bullpen might not be the best idea considering he doesn't do that, right? It seemed definitely like a risky move. I understand statistically the matchup. I understand why they were trying to rely on Ray in that moment, but I don't really blame Robbie Ray too much. Like not everybody is Randy Johnson coming into the World Series, right? Like you just can't expect everybody that's a starting pitcher to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. It's absolutely a tough thing. And Robbie Ray hasn't pitched that well in general for the Mariners of late. He was not good in that game in Toronto. The Mariners went on to win that game, but they were trailing 8-1 at one point in that game in Toronto for a reason. Robbie Ray did not have a good outing for the Mariners in that game against Toronto. And if you even look at his last start of the regular season, Robbie Ray was not good in that outing either. So I think there are some justified questions about, is this really a guy that you should be putting in arguably the biggest spot in a game like that against the best hitter that the Astros have? I don't know. And also there's the fact that Yordan Alvarez doesn't have extreme left-right splits anyway. So there's a case to be made that maybe Paul Sewald is going to be just as effective as Robbie Ray would be in that spot. So another stat that stuck out to me, Derek, apparently that home run from Yordan Alvarez added 91% to the win probability in that game for Houston. They presumably went from having a 9% chance to win the game with 2 on 2 out to having, of course, a 100% chance of winning the game after that hit. And I believe that was the highest win probability added of any single at bat in Major League history in the postseason. So just a remarkable feat all the way around from Yordan Alvarez.
Well, yeah, especially considering it was the first time in history that a walk-off of multiple runs has ended the game like that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But also, Jesse, we had a discussion yesterday about home field advantage, and I was wondering if your opinion may have changed after watching that game.
I mean, the Phillies held on, right? The Phillies held on in Atlanta.
That one got close, though. That was an exciting game as well.
That one did get close. But all the other home teams, you are correct. All the other home teams did win yesterday. So I guess that sort of works against my theory a little bit.
Well, and the Yankees kind of won a back and forth game, I guess you could say, against the Guardians. That one seemed pretty close at times. Obviously, this Astros walk-off was a huge comeback for Houston. So, there's something to be said about, home field advantage. But the Phillies, we discussed yesterday the potential of just kind of being on that roll and coming in versus having a layoff. So, I don't know. This is just a fun October already. I'm really excited about the way that these series have gone. And I know we became a Mariners Stan account, right? And it's not over. It's not over. Let's take a look at what we got here going on. Of course, the Dodgers won against the Padres. That's the one series we didn't address. But I think that there's still some excitement to be had here. I don't know if these first, game one victories mean a death sentence for the team that's down. But there are some cases here that I think, especially the Phillies winning that first game over the Braves is going to make things very interesting there.
Yeah, that's definitely I think the most compelling series, just given how well the Phillies have played so far in the postseason. They really look like a force to be reckoned with. And there's also the fact, as we've discussed in the past, that the Atlanta Braves won the World Series last year. And it is very, very rare to see teams go back-to-back in the World Series. So the Braves are going to have a rough go. It's obviously hard winning a World Series in general, much less doing it, or even more so doing it in back-to-back years. But yeah, looking at those other 3 series, Derek, I'll be honest, the higher seed seems pretty highly favored in my mind in each of those series. The San Diego Padres in particular, they were 4-15 against the Dodgers in the regular season, and 0-1, of course, to start the playoffs. And I think I saw yesterday that the Padres have lost 24 of their last 29 games against the Los Angeles Dodgers overall. It sort of feels like no matter how many trades the Padres make, no matter how much money they spend in free agency or what kind of ridiculous extensions they hand out, the Dodgers have just been head and shoulders the better team over the last few years. And it's sort of hard to see that changing anytime soon.
And what does that say for the Diamondbacks? How,
I don't know.
It literally is like one of those things where, the Diamondbacks, or the Rockies, or some of the rest of us in the NL West we're going to have to catch a down year, for the Dodgers, where they just so happen to not be perfection as a baseball team, because holy shit, man, the Dodgers, they seem to just be able to rest a lot of guys last month without giving anybody too much time off. And, they just seem to be on the exact roll. And unfortunately, it looks like we could be headed, down the road to a Dodgers-Yankees World Series, which, even though those are probably the two most popular teams in baseball, it still seems very unappealing, I think, to the rest of us that aren't either a Yankees fan or a Dodgers fan.
I will say I have to acknowledge there would be something about having the Dodgers and the Yankees in the World Series. They are the two most popular teams in the sport, probably. You've got New York City and Los Angeles, right? Like two of the biggest cities in the country represented in the World Series. There's sort of something to be said for that for baseball as a whole. There would be a lot of eyes on the World Series if something like that happened. I don't personally think that's going to happen, though. I have some questions about the Yankees in particular. I'm not sure if they're necessarily going to hold up long-term in the postseason. And on the Dodgers side, I think tonight's matchup is actually very interesting in that game. You've got Yu Darvish for San Diego, who's been very, very good for them. Former Dodger, of course. And then on the other side, you've got Clayton Kershaw, who has a very long, well-documented history of not pitching particularly well in the postseason. So the Padres have an opportunity to really build some momentum in this series and at least give themselves a hope of having a shot in this series if they're able to win tonight. If not, Derek, down 2-0, it'd be a major uphill battle for them at that point.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But here's the thing: is I'd like to speak it into existence, as Michael said. I would like to just maybe curse it into existence. Maybe I want to go bet money on it just to make sure that it doesn't happen. Because if I put my money on it, it's not going to happen. But we're not letting Robbie Ray off the hook, Jesse, because Robbie Ray is getting our OG's performance to forget this week. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's not only a performance to forget in the playoffs, but it's an all-time performance to forget. I don't even blame Robbie Ray, right? I just don't think it was a good idea. That's my opinion. I don't think it was a good managerial move, but I'm also not very familiar with the bullpen for the Mariners, and I don't know exactly how good or bad it was.
Yeah, the Mariners bullpen early in the season was actually quite good, and it sounds like it sort of tailed off a little bit toward the end of the year, and so I think that was sort of the biggest question mark for them going into the playoffs, is how well the bullpen would be able to hold up. And you can see, if Scott Servais is putting in Robbie Ray in a spot like that, it probably goes to show maybe he's not super confident with what he has going on at the back end of that bullpen. Are we having some Wi-Fi issues?
Sorry, my internet's crapping out on me, Jesse.
Okay.
I apologize.
This is really something. We love the remote shows where me and Derek are at home and at the mercy of the internet that we have in our respective homes. So I'm going to go ahead and Are you back with us, Derek? Can you hear us?
I think I'm back with you. I think I can hear you guys now. I apologize for that.
Okay.
Well, I don't apologize. I didn't see the internet.
You guys just being me in this particular situation, I suppose. But yes, the internet is not your fault. I guess we can't blame you too much for that.
Right. I have no control over it, but no, you guys don't want me to reboot the router. I'll never come back. I'll be gone forever. But I do want to give a shout out to our friends at OG's. If of course, if you want to celebrate your birthday properly, I know Jesse's not going to do this, and that's to each their own, right? But you can celebrate your birthday with your friends at OG's. They have a wonderful variety of flavors and doses of their edibles. They are Arizona's top selling edible. Of course, they've launched their sleep edition gummy that we've been talking about quite a bit. It's now flavoring your dreams with a 2-to-1 THC to CBN ratio. CBN being a compound that specifically helps me fall asleep and stay asleep. And that's my endorsement there is because the Sleep Edition gummy got me back on track with their aquaberry flavor. It's delicious. We highly recommend you check out our friends at OG's online at ogsbrands.com or on Instagram at ogsbrands. You can also find their products at your local dispensary. Must be 21 years or older to purchase, and enjoy responsibly. And also, speaking of enjoying responsibly, enjoy the Four Peaks haunted brewery tours responsibly. Not like Saul, who ran through it screaming. This spooky season, go to Four Peaks brewery tours Monday through Wednesday. You can get up one tour, 2 tours per night. That's 7 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. And of course, we've got some pretty cool stuff in the works with our friends at Four Peaks. But enjoy spooky season with a beer in your hand over at the 8th Street Pub. Must be 21 years or older to enjoy, and enjoy responsibly. Jesse, per Bob Nightingale, the Arizona Diamondbacks are reportedly looking to move on from Madison Bumgarner next season, to the surprise of nobody.
Yeah, that's fair. Real quick, I do have to acknowledge Charles Woodall Pike's comment that yes, I will be celebrating my birthday by getting extra protein at Salad and Go, and I will be eating it in my sick Toyota RAV4. It goes full circle.
No, Jesse.
and I've invited Tori Lavello to join me, but I haven't gotten a response yet. So.
He's not going to join you.
Spoiler. But yes, to what you were saying about Madison Bumgarner, Bob Nightingale did release an article today that had a little bit of information about Mad Bum in it. It wasn't anything too earth-shattering. He basically just said that the Diamondbacks are hoping he performs better so that they can trade him, which is sort of an interesting perspective to have, right? And you kind of expect that the D-backs, obviously they want him to perform better, but you'd think maybe they'd be interested in having him stick around, particularly given the fact that he's going to be making so much money that it's going to be hard to move him no matter how well he performs. I mean, he would really have to turn things around in order to become a valuable trade asset. Nice. Michael also owns a RAV4. I knew Michael was one of my favorite people in the chat. So that only accentuates that point.
Ridiculous.
But anyway, yes, interesting what Bob had to say. Not necessarily surprising. The D-backs would certainly like to get out from under the cloud of that contract if they could possibly find a way. I still don't think there's really any chance that they don't have to eat at least part of that deal in making a move, though. So we'll see how it turns out.
That's also what Bob said. And Bob also said in quite the scathing comment that barring a dramatic turnaround, it will go down as the D-backs' worst free agent signing in franchise history, paying him $85 million over 5 years. That's a hot take.
That is a hot take.
Thank you. You want to throw Russ Ortiz up there again? Don't make me bring up Russ Ortiz again, right? I mean,
the man had 65 walks and 46 strikeouts. Those numbers are forever ingrained in my head. Russ Ortiz's first year in Arizona was really quite something. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty close between Mad Bum and Yasmani Tomas. Tomas did hit 31 home runs one year. I still don't think he was that good that season necessarily. Like from a wins above replacement standpoint, I'm not sure if he was even a one WAR player that year, just because he was such a liability on defense and he didn't really get on base very much. So he didn't really give you a whole lot else. But on the flip side, Yasmani Tomas was sent down to the minors for multiple seasons. The D-backs just sort of decided they would rather have him there than have him in the big leagues, regardless of how much money he was making. So it's pretty close. It's Jacob's causing all sorts of trouble in the chat right now.
I see that. I see that. And he's right. Mad Bum threw a no-hitter, but he's not right about how he spelled it. In other interesting D-backs news from Bob, Giants third baseman Evan Longoria wants to return for one final season, but it sounds like the Giants have no plan to pick up his $13 million option and will instead pay a $5 million buyout. The only teams Longoria would consider playing for are the Giants, who obviously don't want him, the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Arizona Diamondbacks.
It's interesting. It's a very odd list, to be honest. It's a little bit all over the place.
I agree with that 100%. But Mike Hazen had some comments about the payroll and how they would add to the roster next season. And I don't know. Do we have that video, Jacob? I don't think we do. Okay.
That looked like a no.
That looked like a no. But what you were there for those comments. So what were your thoughts on what Mike Hazen had to say?
Yeah. Also, I'll give a quick forewarning here that I'm getting the poor internet signal right now, so you can just sort of start talking over me if at some point I cut out.
Yeah,
but but yeah, Mike Hazen basically said he was asked about, do you guys have the ability to do what you need to do this offseason with the current payroll, or is this a point where you go to Ken and you say, here, we're getting close? What can you do to kind of get us a little bit further and get us where we want to go this next season? Mike gave a pretty typical response, sort of something like what you'd expect. He said the Diamondbacks haven't had any payroll conversations yet. And he also said he wasn't really concerned about it. He said that no matter what that number is, whatever number the Diamondbacks have in the budget to spend on the payroll for next year, he said, we can do a good job no matter what that number is. So he said he wasn't fixated on it and didn't seem overly concerned. Of course, that's sort of how you have to respond as a GM, right? Like you can't go on record and say that, you're put off by what little budget you have to work with, right? So I don't know if that necessarily tells us a whole lot, but yeah, I don't know if Evan Longoria would be a guy the D-backs would be looking to spend that money on anyway. As far as I can tell, he doesn't have any ties to the Valley. He's not from Arizona or anything. So maybe it's the spring training convenience. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Arizona is a pretty desirable place to live, I suppose. Madison Bumgarner certainly thought so. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to play 6 months of summer baseball in the Valley, but Longoria wasn't bad this year for the Giants, right? He hit 244, but he had a 767 OPS. He had a 114 OPS plus. So he had some decent numbers for the Giants this year. So I don't know if there's a fit here, but it's sort of interesting. The D-backs don't have a whole lot of depth at third base, so maybe this is something they look at.
Michael says he lives here, and Freeland says he's too old. So yeah, no, I mean, whatever. I don't know if I disagree with. I don't know if I disagree with the too old comment, but I will say this: make sure to check out Jesse's writings over at gophnx.com. He will be covering everything that the Arizona Diamondbacks have going on as far as free agency goes, and all the moves that they're going to make going forward. And I will tell you, you can get an annual membership right now. With the annual membership, you'll get yourself a free t-shirt like this Seth Cerveza shirt that has no affiliation to any particular player at all that's in existence, or any shirt over at the PHNX locker that you choose, or you can get a month-to-month membership. You'll get your first month for just 50 cents. And regardless of your membership status, you will get members-only access to our Discord, members-only discounts over at the PHNX locker, and members-only invites to some of our events that we'll be having going forward. So make sure to sign up for a membership. If you're here right now watching us struggle with our internet on the PHNX YouTube channel, please make sure to subscribe. Also leave a thumbs up, and also sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows or any of the other shows go live. Also, if you're listening right now on your favorite audio podcasting app, make sure to subscribe to us there and leave us a 5-star review if you haven't done so already. Big shout out to our friends at More Furniture, who they still have like a picture of me at all the More Furniture locations, saying that I cannot buy any more office chairs. So I have to treat this one that I have now much nicer than I used to. But make sure to get down on More Furniture's fall sale over at morefurniture.com. They'll hook you up, spruce up your house, get yourself, ready for not only all the sporting events that are coming this winter, this fall, but the Super Bowl's right around the corner. So you need to have the digs ready for that. Jesse hates when I talk about football at all. And so I'm going to tie as much as I can back to football on his birthday, just as a special present for him. But Jesse, there has been talk. I like this tweet that came out that kind of pointed out how some of the best pitchers in the game aren't necessarily treated equally. Alana Rizzo tweeted, "I realize that I'm closer to the Dodgers based on the time I spent covering them. I do find it interesting, however, that Scherzer and Verlander don't seem to experience the same perceived negative narrative about lack of postseason success as Clayton Kershaw discuss." And yeah, I don't know. I think first of all, Justin Verlander has experienced success, so I don't know if it's fair to necessarily say he hasn't. He just has a lengthy career, and based on the
Yeah.
length of his career, he, has the opportunity for things not to go well for him at times, but he still has quite the resume when it comes to the postseason. Max Scherzer, however, I kind of can see where she's coming from with this. It was only the second time that a pitcher has given up 4 homers and 7 runs in the same postseason game. And he's only done that one time during his regular season career. So it was one of his worst starts ever, basically. And it was in a postseason game. So I don't know. I think I kind of agree with what they're saying. But Michael McDermott pointed out that they both do have much better postseason resumes than Kershaw. Really, that's what it comes down to. Kershaw has had lots of opportunities, and he's also had lots of failures, you could say.
I will acknowledge that, like, I don't think any of these 3 pitchers have been at their best during the postseason necessarily. Like, none of these guys, if you look at their postseason numbers, you look at their regular season numbers, all of them have been somewhat considerably worse in the playoffs, although there's definitely a difference here. Like Michael said, I still think Clayton Kershaw, his numbers in the postseason are clearly worse than where Verlander and Scherzer's numbers are at. Also, we just saw Max Scherzer, at the helm of a World Series winning team just a couple of years ago. So you also have to remember that Max Scherzer has had some success in the postseason. Clayton Kershaw, this is a long storyline, right? This has gone on for many, many years, and Clayton Kershaw has pitched in a lot of postseason games because he's a Los Angeles Dodger, and the Dodgers have made the playoffs pretty much every season that Clayton Kershaw has been in the big leagues. But yeah, Kershaw is the only guy of the 3 who has an ERA over 4 in the playoffs. He has a 4.19 ERA. It's actually kind of interesting. Like at this point, Kershaw has basically pitched the equivalent of a full regular season of playoff baseball. He's thrown 100 and he's 13-12 with a 4.19 ERA and 189 innings. And his peripheral numbers are honestly very good. He has 207 strikeouts against 50 walks, 28 homers, maybe a little bit high for him. But honestly, Clayton Kershaw has been pretty decent in the playoffs too overall. And you also have to factor in that, like, in the playoffs, you're pitching against better hitting in general than you are in the regular season. So you're naturally going to expect guys' numbers in the playoffs to be a little bit worse. So yeah, all that to say, Kershaw's numbers are worse than the other 2 guys. And none of them, frankly, have been at their very best in the postseason, I wouldn't say.
I am the Larry points out Dave Robertson, the way he's handled Kershaw in the postseason. He said before, Kershaw keeps getting used out of the bullpen for some reason, and he doesn't pitch well when doing that. Obviously, because he never does that unless it's the postseason, right? It's like what we were talking about earlier with Robbie Ray. You can't utilize these guys all of a sudden. I know mentally they might think that they can do it. I know mentally they might think that it's no big deal for them to get ready and go out there and pitch on the mound the same way that they normally do. But it is a completely different situation. Don't even get me started on Melanson and non-save situations this season, but that's just because I don't feel like being upset anymore. Are we
still talking about that?
I don't know. I don't know why we shouldn't. But of course it's going to be interesting to see if he can kind of change, the perception about him in the postseason if the Dodgers do make a run to the World Series and possibly win it. And I don't know why I had to put that out there. That felt gross. So I'm just gonna keep it moving. But of course, we ask you guys to definitely check out our friends over at Underdog. You can search in the App Store or click the link in the show notes to find their app. They have a variety of different games to play. Our favorite being the Pick'ems, where you can pick higher or lower based on any given stats. You can play during the postseason for baseball, the football coming up, all sorts of stuff. Of course, go down there, check out Underdog, use our promo code of PHNX, and you will get up to $100 in your first deposit and matched up to for $100. I'm glitching, but this isn't my internet connection. This is just my brain. But use our promo code of PHNX, and we will double your first deposit up to $100. So make sure to do that on Underdog Fantasy today. Get down on it today. Bet on tonight's games and get yourself win some money like I did. Don't even make me start bragging about that again. Game Time, place to buy your tickets. That's where you need to go to get your tickets. You almost need to purposefully procrastinate, but like I said, you have no idea what's going on. Do you know how many tickets for things I've bought in the month of February, and I just now started realizing how much stuff lapped over? I'm glad, to be honest, that Rage Against the Machine canceled their concert. Give me my money back. I've had too much stuff going on that month anyway, and that's what happens when I buy tickets early. Everything gets mixed up, Jesse. I don't know what I'm doing anymore, but if you wait till the last minute, you know for sure you can go. And you can save up to 60% on tickets when you buy tickets last minute. It's great. It's a great day to be procrastinators. You win with procrastinating. But the best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description below. I wanted to give a quick shout out, of course, to Jesse Friedman and his terrible internet. I want to wish him a happy birthday.
Hey, you started this, Derek.
I did start it. I got another one of these for you. Let me see if I can get at the camera. All right, that one didn't go so well. Anyway, Jesse and I have been friends for quite a while. I showed the emails, obviously, that he sent me, or the DMs that he sent me, but going back a little further, we dug up a little gem to show you guys of Jesse and his journalistic past. Jacob, would you roll that beautiful footage?
Oh no!
Got a fan in the cage. We're excited about that. All right, what's your name? Where are you from? What's your question for Patrick?
I am Jesse Friedman. I'm from Chandler, Arizona. And my question is, which other MLB pitchers do you look to?
Do I what?
Look up to.
Guys that I've faced out this year with Kershaw and also with Wade Miley on this team. I mean, guys also left-handers. Get to see how they pitch and these guys who have had some success over the last couple of years. And I just think anytime you can go out and see these guys compete, that's kind of the pitcher that you'd like to be.
Why?
Wow, your internet connection was terrible back then.
Yeah. Apparently, my one shining moment. I swear I said the question very clearly, and it was absolutely just some sort of a glitch. I blame MLB.com, or I don't know whose fault exactly that was, but yes, that was when I was maybe like 14 years old. Michael says hasn't aged a bit, which I find a little bit off-putting. But there you go. That's me back when I was in my my teen years, doing what I loved and having a very high-pitched, awkward-sounding, squeaky voice while I did it. So you're all welcome for that.
Who would have thought it would have led to this, huh? Who would have thought it would have led to all this? Being a vice mayor of a digital media company. Look at you. I'm so proud of you. But happy what, 18th birthday? How old are you now, Jesse? Let everybody know so that they can actually judge you.
I am turning 24 today. So you've all been watching and listening for long enough. I'll just reveal it on the air. There you go.
What is
that is in my plans, Jacob. It's all part of the plan. So
you guys
we're still in phase 1, but within the next couple of years we'll start making some headway. But
yeah, I agree with Ben. You're a prodigy, Jesse, and I am lucky to call you my co-host. I appreciate you being everything that you are right now, and it's incredible. I don't agree with you impeaching anybody, though, so let's throw that whole thing out of there. I've heard the rumors circulating. I know people are coming for my job, and all I have to say is bring it, each and every one of you. I'm ready for you all. So that's just a precursor to what's coming soon. Of course, we thank all of our sponsors. I thank Jesse for having a birthday because this was wonderful. I have an office to clean up now, and I know Jacob is thrilled that this didn't happen at the studio today. Shout out to Aaron at my tire company for letting me borrow his truck and drive home and do this show while my car gets fixed. But I thank you guys all for being here and spending your lunch with us. Of course, we appreciate you. You can follow us on Twitter. I am at Cap_Caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Our show, the Sad Mariners Stand account, I should say now, is at PHNX_D-backs. But of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you guys again for joining us on behalf of the birthday boy, Jesse Friedman, Faj, and myself. We thank you guys so much for your time. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when Jesse Friedman is covering it.